O.G. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about belonging against Section 40. MacIntyre famously observed, every notable attempt since the Enlightenment to construct a rational framework for an objective morality has been built out of non-rational premises that any rational person may reasonably deny. This is why Enlightenment thinking, which is basically our thinking today, has struggled to bring about a true CCE, community character ethics. That's the abbreviation for that. It asks people to accept no givens as necessary for CCE, but then has only givens to replace what was lost. Those would be non-rational foundations, of which then it would immediately have to deconstruct. At the same time, the Enlightenment has taught people to be rational in what they think, to not accept anything without rational reasons, and there are rational reasons to deny any givens provided by the Enlightenment, because they must be non-rational. Any CCE Enlightenment thinking tries to establish is undermined by our ways of thinking blessed upon us by the Enlightenment. The snake, in its great wisdom, eats the tail of a quote-unquote different snake. As discussed in The True Isn't the Rational, the conflation of true and rational has contributed greatly to the problem of the Enlightenment. We fail to realize that all thinking must accept some axioms and givens in order to be itself, and hence engage in a mode of thinking to which undermines its own possibility. This has contributed to our restlessness, and though the seeds of this restlessness have been among us for centuries, thanks to our modern technologies, pluralism, globalization, capitalism, the seeds have sprouted. Certainly, the Enlightenment has equipped us with invaluable tools for the life of the mind, and in that act also made the reduction of CCC into values incredibly difficult, if not impossible, to avoid. We require givens as we require thinking, and so the Enlightenment, for the right reasons, has set us up to be pressured between two necessities. Should we give up the Enlightenment? No, that would be going too far and run the risk of autonomous non-rationality. Rather, we should realize that there will be some givens we must turn our Enlightenment thinking off toward, per se. Fair enough, but how do we decide which those are without using thinking? Won't it ultimately be arbitrary, whatever the answer is? Indeed, it will be, because our rationality requires accepting arbitrary non-rationality. And by arbitrary, I mean something more like the Kurt Gödel sense, where it lacks objective grounding, even if it's true, quote-unquote, or actual. And you see, if this were to occur, this could be quite a anxiety-producing situation. But what choice do we have? For Hunter, the fact invaluable Enlightenment thinking, and critical thinking in general, arguably, undermines both its own possibility and CCE, is why CCE is only possible amongst those who think thoughtlessly, those who are a story as opposed to knowing they are in a story, like the Pirandello characters mentioned in the last section, with the tension between the meta-narrative and a story. But if this is the case, then character is only possible where the banality of evil is possible, which suggests that with the loss of character goes the possibility of lost causers. With Hitler goes Bonhoeffer. Shakespeare discussed in Twelfth Night how greatness was thrown upon some, and though the loss of givens means greatness cannot be thrown upon anyone, neither can evil be so thrown. We cannot wake up and find ourselves saints, but we also cannot wake up as monsters. We make ourselves. The Nazis used propaganda and manipulation to secure the story in which Germans at the time operated, so too securing their CCE. At the time, had CCE devolved into mere values, perhaps the German people wouldn't have fallen under the spell of Nazism. Perhaps millions of lives would have been spared, which suggests that perhaps we should dance upon the grave of character. Perhaps story inherently manipulates as community inherently excludes, and though belonging again might be impossible without CCE, who wants belonging if it risks Nazism? Who wants rest if it requires the excluded to suffer injustice and alienation? As we will discuss, if CCE is impossible without God, then with the death of God, so perhaps too dies Hitler and Bonhoeffer. Unless that is, Nazism is still possible thanks to values. Unless that is, values make possible Hitler but not Bonhoeffer. Unless that is, CCE entails good and bad, while values entail only bad. Unless values also exclude, but don't also create belonging. Hard to say. The banality of evil seems impossible without a CCE or common life, but it would not follow that rationality cannot still be present, which entails the ability to deconstruct and deny the need for non-rationality. Furthermore, if autonomous rationality can bring about a form of totalitarianism and authoritarianism, then though the loss of CCE removes the threat of one kind of authoritarianism, the mass, another type might still be possible, the mob. Thus, we cannot assume that removing CCE will necessarily free us from the dangers of totalitarianism or various social pathologies. For the negation to be a sublation, something else seems needed. Moving forward, all of this suggests that if we could figure out how to negate sublate character into absolute knowing and removing the possibility of the banality of evil, we could be better off. This period of history could be a period of great and supreme evolution. On the other hand, if such a negation sublation isn't possible, or else if we can only negate CCE without a corresponding sublation, then this moment in history might be one of trouble. Hard to say. For more by OG Rose, please visit ogrose.com. For the rest of Belonging Again, please see the playlist on YouTube. And there is a list of the sections on Medium. And thank you so much for your time.